And we're going to kick things off with the front page of Friday's Telegraph. Leo, what have they got?
So their headline is Sturgeon trans law in disarray after rapist climbdown. So it wasn't a rapist on the roof. That's a musical to go and see. This is basically the SNP had this gender reform bill that they passed through Parliament, and this made it much easier for people to transition. So you could just sort of say that you're whatever gender, and then you're just that gender. You don't have to convince a panel of medical experts or anything like that. And people said, well, this will make it easier for sexual predators, men, to abuse the system. They can get access to women's spaces, women's prisons. They'll also get a new identity, which will hide their crimes. They'll have a new name, so anybody Googling their name, their crimes will be committed under their previous name, the male name. And the SNP said, oh, this will never happen. You're a transphobic bigot and a far-right extremist. The next day, it turns out there's a man who transitioned. He's been convicted of being found guilty of raping 2 women when he was still a man. While he was going through the court process and being convicted, he transitioned and was held on remand in a women's prison.
Right.
Which, there's obvious safety implications. I mean, I'm not saying men aren't at risk from him either, but I mean, women definitely are.
Yeah, so Scott, I mean, this is a really interesting one, isn't it? Because part of the reason why something's actually happened, why the SNP have backed down, is I think because of so much fuss about this particular case.
Public outrage.
Public outrage, but also because of the look of the guy. I mean, he looks like a psychopath, and is.
Well, we don't know what his emotional or intellectual state is, but he's known...
We know he's a rapist.
Well, we do, twice over, and we know that since he was 4, he wanted to be a lady. That's what he says now. And he's only...
think he might be capable of lying?
I don't know him.
Right.
His ex-wife, who presumably knows him quite well, said he's lying.
Well, they're divorced, so it didn't work out.
She's maybe having a go at him.
She might be a liar too. I just think that what the actual percentage we should be concerned with is that trans people in prison are like 19 times more likely to be raped than this person is to rape somebody else. And I agree, he shouldn't be in a female prison. He should be in a male prison.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's ridiculous. But we need to look at the protection of people who are vulnerable in the prison system.
Yeah, but Scott, we do that anyway. There are all sorts of classifications of prisoners who are vulnerable. Paedophiles, for instance, gay men are more likely to be attracted men.
And yet the numbers of rape continue to increase.
But that doesn't mean that we move them to a woman.
No. I just think that what people are concerned with is generally the safety of prisoners in prison. This person, they need to be moved out of a women's prison, obviously.
Yeah.
And this case needs to be looked at. But I hate to think that this is just the only thing we're concerned with about safety in prison.
But also, does it matter if this individual genuinely suffers from gender dysphoria or not? I actually don't care. This is a man who raped women and shouldn't be in a women's prison. I think it's as simple as that. Even if he believes himself to be a woman, I don't think the state should care about that. Yeah,
and prison is supposed to be a punishment as much as it's supposed to rehabilitate you. And the provisions, the SNP said, we're going to make provisions in the women's prison. He's going to be held in the special unit, and he's going to have his own special. It's like, who's paying for all this? And obviously the taxpayer's paying for all this. I don't know, as a taxpayer, I think, just chuck him in wherever, chuck him in a man's prison. Her in a man's prison. I don't want to get arrested by the SNP. I don't want to get arrested when I go back to Scotland, so chuck her in a man's prison.
Why don't we just, let's just call it what it is. It's a man.
Yeah.
We should call him him. Is this going to be the point at which the media stop referring to things like her penis? Is this the point at which the BBC and all those news outlets that keep going on about this rapist, she did this, she
I
did
hope
that?
you never say her penis again, actually. This is the point we're going to stop doing that. But also, I think that... what people are confused about, they're also a bit intrigued by. I think there's a bit of salaciousness involved in this case.
Right, okay.
Yeah. And I think that's a problem, too. And I think we need to reduce it to what it is, which is a lying criminal trying to get his way out.
Well, exactly.
If we're talking about harm coming to trans people, I mean, this is doing immense harm. The whole trans ideology, the gender ideology that the SNP and other leftists are trying to push through is doing immense harm to trans people. It's really turning public opinion against them. We can see in opinion polls the percentage of the general population who support trans rights is actually declining, which is incredible.
Yeah. Because trans people have never claimed that they are not the biological sex in which they were born. They have that, otherwise they wouldn't be trans. Right? So this mantra of trans women are women is a nonsense. It's not true.
Well, it is a nonsense, and a lot of trans people feel that it wasn't established by trans people, that the word trans is actually an identifier for the mainstream culture to make themselves feel better about who they're talking to.
Exactly.
I mean, these people have never transitioned in their own minds. That person who is now identified as a female, not this person, but a person, has always been female. The transition is what you're witnessing.
That's what dysphoria means, though. That's the point.
But they're not transitioning. They've always been female. They're not transitioning. You're saying they're transitioning because that makes you feel better.
What I'm saying is that what I'm saying is that we have to run certain things in society along the classification of biological sex, and in those cases, even if you do genuinely suffer from gender dysphoria and feel like you're a woman when you're not, we shouldn't be entertaining that in those circumstances.
Yeah, but come on, if somebody's made a lot of effort, like Blair White, for example, there's no way you'd send Blair White to a male prison.
Why not?
Because
Blair White hasn't committed any crime, and she's not from this country.
Yeah, but somebody like Blair White, I think, somebody who puts the effort in, there's no way you could send somebody like that to
I don't agree. I think we have to run prisons according to biological sex, and as I said, make special provisions for particularly vulnerable prisoners.
Having said that, in Scotland, there are prisons where the genders are mixed.
Yeah.
And that's scary too.
It is scary. We can't just have a system, Leo, where it's like, does Leo find them hot?
Yeah.
And if he does, then they get to
That
go
is
to a
not
female
only because
prison.
it's such a grey area, but with my system, it's solved. No.